Welcome back to your ultimate pit stop, Power and Policy. Tonight, we're diving deep into a story that's unfolding right now. A story with global implications. A high-stakes game of chicken between the United States and Mexico. Buckle up, because tensions between these two North American giants have hit a dangerous crossroads. Mexico's recent statements about potentially restricting oil and automotive exports that are absolutely vital to the US economy, could escalate into a broader tariff conflict, one with serious consequences for the automotive industry and beyond. This isn't just about trade, folks, it's about leverage, and Mexico has it. Think about it. Mexico supplies a significant portion of the crude oil that fuels US refineries, especially those in Texas. These refineries are specifically configured to handle heavier Mexican crude. It's not like you can just flip a switch and replace that supply overnight. If Pemex, Mexico's state-owned oil company, were to cut or restrict exports, even for a short period, we're talking about a seismic shock to the system. US fuel prices could spike, and I'm not talking about a few cents here and there. This could be a full-blown surge that would send shockwaves through the economy, raising inflation and hammering manufacturing and logistics costs. And here's the real kicker. President Claudia Sheinbaum has made it crystal clear that if the US goes ahead with tariffs, Mexico is prepared to respond in kind. This isn't just an economic dilemma, it's a political powder keg. Rising fuel prices could completely undermine Trump's economic messaging, especially as energy costs directly affect consumers and industry. We're talking about pain at the pump, folks, and that's something no politician wants to see, especially in an election year. Let's talk about cars, because this is where things get really interesting. And by interesting, I mean potentially disastrous. The North American auto industry, it's a finely tuned machine, a complex ecosystem of interconnected parts and processes. US, Japanese and European automakers, they all rely heavily on thousands of Mexican suppliers for critical components. We're talking transmissions, electronics, the works. Every single day, hundreds of trucks cross the US-Mexico border, a constant flow of goods that keeps assembly lines humming across the United States. Now, imagine what happens if Mexico imposes tariffs or even more drastically, export restrictions on auto parts. It's not an overstatement to say it could cripple production, throwing the entire industry into chaos. Companies like GM, Ford, Tesla, giants of American manufacturing, would face immediate setbacks. We're talking plant slowdowns, layoffs, and skyrocketing vehicle prices. And the experts we've spoken to warn that these disruptions could trigger long-term structural consequences for North American manufacturing. Here's the irony, and it's a bitter one. Trump's tariff policies, the ones he claims are designed to protect American workers, well, they could end up hurting the very people he's trying to help. Think about it. Mexico's countermeasures, they're not going to target some abstract entity. They're going to hit industries and regions that are already feeling the squeeze. Tariffs on US exports, things like corn, soybeans, beef, that's going to inflict real pain on American farmers, especially those who rely heavily on Mexico as a trading partner. And it's not just agriculture. Manufacturing states, the ones that Trump promised to revitalize, they could also get caught in the crossfire. We're talking about rising costs, job losses, and a slowdown in economic activity if the flow of auto parts and energy is disrupted. If this economic pain spreads, if it starts to bite in those crucial swing states, well, that could erode Trump's support base, turning what he thought was a strategic gamble into a major political liability. Chapter 4. The Waiting Game, Diplomatic Maneuvering and Strategic Delays. Now, you might be thinking, if things are this bad, why haven't we seen more fireworks? And that's a good question. Despite the escalating tensions, Mexico has, at least for now, avoided immediate retaliation. President Sheinbaum is playing this smart. She's reiterated Mexico's commitment to the USMCA, that's the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, the trade deal that replaced NAFTA, and she's emphasizing diplomacy at every turn. There's a scheduled phone call between Sheinbaum and Trump on March 6th, and that could be a pivotal moment, a make-or-break opportunity to find some common ground. But here's the thing. Mexico has also made it clear that if diplomacy fails, If there's no movement from the US side, they're prepared to announce formal retaliation measures by March 9th. It's a game of brinksmanship with incredibly high stakes. By holding back initially, Mexico is giving Trump a chance to save face, a way to de-escalate without appearing weak. But make no mistake, if there's no compromise, if Trump doesn't blink, the retaliation could be swift and devastating. Here's what keeps me up at night. This isn't just a bilateral spat between two countries. Any trade dispute between the United States and Mexico is going to have ripple effects, and we're not just talking about North America. Canada, the third partner in USMCA, is watching this very closely, and they've already hinted that they might align with Mexico in opposing US tariffs. They've even floated the idea of imposing their own tariffs on American goods, especially in the automotive sector. And then there's China. They're not just sitting on the sidelines watching this unfold. They've recently announced a 15% tariff on US imports, and while that's officially unrelated to the US-Mexico standoff, you can bet they're watching for any sign of weakness. This has the potential to snowball into a multi-front trade crisis, one with global implications. We're talking about impacts across multiple sectors: automotive, agriculture, energy, finance, the whole nine yards. Let's be clear. Energy isn't just an economic issue, it's political ammunition. Trump has staked his presidency on this image of strength, on this idea of America first and energy independence. But the reality is US refineries are still heavily reliant on Mexican crude. Any disruption to that flow of oil exposes a fundamental vulnerability in Trump's narrative. It undermines his message, and it pushes fuel prices higher, which directly impacts voters. Sheinbaum, on the other hand, she's playing this masterfully. She's positioning Mexico's trade stance as a matter of national sovereignty, of standing up to a bully. And that message, it resonates powerfully with the Mexican people. It puts Trump in a bind, forcing him to choose between negotiating a face-saving deal or escalating the conflict and risking further economic damage. At the heart of this whole mess, it's a political gamble, and it's one that could backfire spectacularly. Trump's tariffs, his entire trade war strategy, it's all part of this carefully crafted image he's trying to project: the tough guy, the deal maker, the one who's not afraid to fight for American interests. But if Mexico retaliates, if those tariffs start to hit American industries and cost American jobs, well, that image could crumble faster than you can say trade deficit. He's walking a tightrope here. If he refuses to budge, if he digs in his heels and tries to stare down Mexico, he risks alienating voters, especially those in key battleground states. But if he backs down, if he gives an inch, he risks appearing weak, indecisive, a far cry from the strongman persona he's so carefully cultivated. And let's not forget, Mexico holds a lot of cards in this game. They've got leverage over crucial oil supplies, they're a vital link in the automotive supply chain, and they've got a leader who's not afraid to stand up to Trump. This is it, folks. This next move, it could define Trump's presidency, the 2024 election, and the future of North American trade for years to come. So here we are, folks, at a crossroads. This standoff between the United States and Mexico, it's not just about tariffs or trade deficits, it's about power, leverage, and the future of North America. Mexico is holding some powerful cards, and they're not afraid to play them. Trump, meanwhile, he's got his own political calculus to consider. He needs to maintain the appearance of strength to keep his base energized, but he also can't afford to alienate voters or trigger a full-blown economic crisis. So who blinks first? Will Trump soften his stance, swallow his pride, and try to salvage a deal that protects American jobs and avoids economic blowback? Or will Sheinbaum's pressure force a pivot in US policy? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for the latest updates from power and policy. Thanks for watching. See you at the next pit stop.